Do you have a question?
Yeah, Premier Northern Pulp put out a statement this morning saying that the debate at Province House last week between you and Tim Houston about a Plan B for forestry didn't discuss how to save the mill. Didn't discuss the possibility of moving the deadline. And they're saying that any discussion of a Plan B that doesn't involve saving Northern Pulp really would lead to job losses, massive job losses in the industry. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think they must be referring to the questions that Tim had asked me in the House. Was asking me about what other steps are we taking as January comes to look at the impact this has on the entire sector. What are we looking at? Are there other opportunities for diversifying the wood supply? All of those will be part of that. The mill has a EA in now that'll be assessed to see whether or not it actually will actually meet the standards.
But do you accept that if the mill has to close on next January, that there will be massive job losses in the industry?
Listen, I've never disagreed with the fact that this mill is an integral part of the forestry sector today. There's no question that every sawmill in the province will be impacted by this mill with any kind of shutdown on this mill. The question is, and I've said it would be the length of time and all of that, and whether or not they'd be restarting. But every sawmill sells chips and residuals into Northern for sure. So there definitely would be an impact in communities, no question.
So Plan B would be more about cushioning the blow of the loss of Northern Pulp, not trying to completely mitigate it.
So our hope is that Northern Pulp is still here. They need to meet the environmental process. They need to go through that. But it's certainly our hope that the mill is still operating. I think what we continue to do, and I think one of the things, if you look at what the Leahy report said, is we begin to implement the Leahy report. We talk about diversification, and I think that's an important message that shouldn't be lost no matter what happens, whether the mill continues to operate or not. We need to look at how do we best diversify the forestry sector in the province, really to maximize its value. So that is all part of that, and making sure the pension plans are solid, and all that's part of what we're doing.
With thousands of jobs on the line, why wouldn't an extension be something that you'd be willing to do, I mean, with something like that on the line?
Well, we need to find out whether or not there is another solution to Port Harbour. There's been no EA granted. There's going through a process now. So the question is, there is not an alternative at this point. It was our hope that we would have seen a proposal on what they were going to do with that effluent long before now.
Premier, when will you share that Plan B with Nova Scotians?
Well, it's ongoing now. They're reaching out to the sector. It's been something that we're gathering the information internally. We're reaching out to our stakeholders and looking at what are the possibilities, how do we diversify, what are the other uses for that residuals. At the same time, working to see whether or not there is a future for this mill.
And what is the role of taxpayers in that particular Plan B?
There has been no ask at this point. As you know, the only thing we talked about in terms of taxpayers' money at this point was we know we have a liability around Port Harbour, and that is ongoing negotiation.
Is that the only likely impact on the
No, we have to look at, there's assessing whether or not, previous governments have invested in businesses before. We need to know whether or not is there money that's still out there. We know there's some cases, there's some in the mill, but are there others? All of that is part of that, but there's been no ask for us to add additional funding.
How do you think the SNC Lavalin scandal is going to impact Nova Scotia's confidence in the provincial Liberal Party?
I don't see it impacting us, other than the fact that we're connected to the National Liberal Party, but I don't see that situation at all unfolding and impacting us. Not a decision that our government made or our party.
But you are connected with the federal Liberals, so how are Nova Scotians to distinguish between the two when they're going to?
Well, I think they distinguish in many ways. So how we deal with this, we have different approaches and different issues, different leadership styles from the respective people leading the two organizations. But there's no question, when Nova Scotians will think about that, but they'll have an opportunity to vote on the federal Liberals before they vote on the provincial Liberals. So that'll give them an opportunity to express their view to the National Party in the next federal campaign.
Premier, there's a couple who are here at the behest of the PCs. Their 24-year-old son took an overdose, a fatal overdose, a year ago today, and they say that they feel that their son would be alive today had the mental health system been working properly. And I wondered if you would just react to that.
Well, I don't know all of the circumstances related to this particular case. there's no question we continue to make investments in mental health, every budget that we have introduced. We've reached out to healthcare experts, as you know, Dr. Kucher, and started off and did a report for us as we continue to implement. But you know, these are really difficult times for families dealing with the issue of mental health. We need to continue to make those investments, not only in the healthcare system, but as you know, we're putting investments in the school system for early identification to try to deal with the issue at the onset, for quite frankly, so families don't have to suffer like this family is.
Do you feel that the mental health care system is working properly, that there are the programs and services in place to look after families like this?
Well, we've reached out, we looked for and relied on expert advice on how do we provide those services. I'm sure, you know, as we continue to update, continue to look at programs that are happening, but we will continue to rely on the clinicians and experts in the field. But you know, these are tragic circumstances, and we continue to try to deliver services that meet the very diverse needs of families.
But do you feel that the services are in place that need to be in place?
Well, we're continuing to invest and reinvest and put more money in every year. Obviously, we continue to support that, but we rely on the clinicians to provide us with the direction and the public policy positions that we move on. That's why we put that pounding. We're implementing the recommendations. This budget will reflect, again, a growing commitment on our part to the issue of mental health. You know, that doesn't change the fact that there are families who are dealing with what is unthinkable.
Thank you.
Thanks.